if it's fashionable to be late, then we must be on top of the cool heap because once again we are characteristically late to make a review of something. This time by weeks.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Also, cool heap.
Yeah, well, I'm throwing them like they come out, and they're not good.
Nope.
But anyway, today we went and saw Kingsman, the Golden Circle, the sequel to the surprise hit. It was, right?
Pretty much.
Original from Matthew Vaughn, the guy that brought us heaps of gore and action, along with cool, witty storylines like Kick-Ass, for example. And this was a sequel that he also co-wrote and directed. So let's talk about it. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's start with a overall view. What was your takeaway from this? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Did you love it, like it, kind of whatever it?
I liked it.
I like how it's always
just I liked it.
I liked it.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go the opposite end of the spectrum on this one. I actually didn't like it. I didn't hate it, but I was bored like 3/4 of the time. It's a shame because I was really looking forward to it. But let's talk about why and what and where and who and how. Let's get the score out of the way first, which we've been doing these last two videos.
More of the same.
More of the same, yeah, the same style. That was pretty good. I mean, it was consistent in what it brought to the scene. So yeah, if you like the score for this first one, you probably like the score for this one. Visually, the aesthetics are pretty much the same, so I think we could kind of gloss over that. It's pretty much, I mean, if you saw the first one, you're going to get a lot more of the same look and style, which is good. I mean, that's consistency. So let's get to the meat of it. The characters, okay. This is where I thought one of the biggest problems was for me. I shouldn't say this is not one of the biggest problems. This is where I first noticed the problems, and that's funny because this started at the get-go. There's often a problem with sequels that a lot of people bitch about, including myself, and it's that sometimes sequels just completely forget characters. This one kind of has the opposite problem in that it tries to stuff every character back in to the point where, from the get-go, for me, I was like, all right, man, you don't have to tell me about everybody. It's not important for me to know about everybody. But I was just kind of holding out, hoping that everybody kind of had a good purpose, like a fulfilling purpose in the story. And ultimately they didn't. So it kind of felt like, just too much stuff, too many characters in there for me. Not that the people acting as these characters weren't good. It's just, it was like, we don't need to know so much about the girlfriend. The princess became his girlfriend. All this stuff. It felt like too much filling. You'd think that'd be good in a movie that's about excess, but for me, it kind of started to feel flat at the beginning. And as it went along, and it became evident they were spending too much time on these characters, and they're ultimately sometimes inconsequential storylines. I was like, man, this is for me. But anyway, as far as the characters go, the ones that returned, I mean, they were basically the same somewhat, with the exception of, the original Galahad, which obviously had some memory loss, but they were essentially the same characters. The new ones, I felt Halle Berry didn't fit into the mold, and she ultimately was kind of a pointless character. But I mean, she wasn't bad or anything. I really how do I even say this? I really had a problem with the villain. This is a shitty villain, in my opinion. One of the shittiest villains they could have come up with. And again, the villain in part one is silly, but at the same time, you feel the consequence and the heft of his plan, despite how wacky and wild they go with the angle. Here, it just felt like this plan is stupid. Yeah. One, and two, I'm kind of with the president on this one to some degree. He ended up being a bigger villain, really, than Poppy, who is portrayed by one of my favorite actresses, Julianne Moore, and it just didn't gel with me. But anyway, let's talk about the characters. What did you think, character-wise?
Yeah, I thought the villain was kind of lame. I think they were gonna do the whole president being. I know that they did cut down on the president's role. Apparently, it was gonna be more Trump-esque,
right,
and more extreme. So I'm thinking that was gonna be the drive, and since they cut down on it, it just feels whatevs at the end. So yeah, she's definitely. I mean, I kind of like the way she played the character. It was just the motivation.
Yeah, the motivation, and She's fine. Actually, I could, yeah, like you, I think I could see that character being cool. It's just the way ultimately it was written. It was like, uh, for me,
Yeah, it wasn't great.
like,
It wasn't a great
whatever.
character, but it was a good portrayal. I thought.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I didn't feel that way about the characters in the beginning. I actually was kind of glad they got rid of some of them, like the chick from the first movie. You know, she dies. Spoiler, I guess. So I thought they did that well, and that they were like, "All right, get rid of those characters and just go somewhere else." But I guess in the beginning, I could see your point.
yeah. I just felt I mean, like bringing Roxy in, like, okay, you could have just killed everybody. They spent too much time on these characters that ultimately didn't pay off. And it's fine. Like the Kingsmen all die. I mean, if you saw the trailers, you pretty much guessed that. But like other characters that you didn't give a flying fuck about really, or didn't they just didn't have the heft that I guess they were intended to have. That's what kind of bothered me. Like the girlfriend thing was like, all right, well, we didn't need that. I guess ultimately it's pointless. Uh, but it could have been there. It's kind of like the subplot of the mom in part one, but not as effective. It could have been there. It just felt overly long. Like the middle, because of these characters, just spending time on them unnecessarily, or spending too much time on certain subplots about them. It just felt like it lagged, and that's kind of brought down the characters themselves for me. But you were pretty much okay with them, so
No, well, I do agree that there was some stuff that you're like, all right, hurry up with this, like the bit where he's trying to get the little, the drama with the girlfriend, with the like, oh, that was kind of what I could have done without that. Um, but I didn't think it was too much. There was a time in the movie, and I can't remember exactly what bit it was, where I was like, yeah, it's kind of long. But it never bothered me because there was always a part where I was like, okay, that's fine. But there was several times where I was like, yeah, this could have done without this scene. Or
now I don't know if you'll agree with me on this one or not. I'm kind of hoping you do, because and it's character based. It's on the same subject. This particular character, I wanted to fucking throttle.
I knew it was coming.
Elton John as a character.
I actually kind of liked him.
Stupid as fuck, man.
It was okay.
Man, I hated that. It was annoying.
I think most of it was pretty bad, but I liked some of the parts.
I liked when he like all of a sudden started kicking ass, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
But
there were some bits that were okay, but there were some bits where I was like, he's gonna hate this.
Yeah,
overall I actually kind of didn't mind it, but I was like, man, I could see people freaking hating this part.
It just felt, I'm okay with like a weird this is the type of movie where this stuff should work, is the weird thing. And for me it just felt fucking flat. I was like, man, they just put this guy in there and it sucks. And I appreciate that they try to kind of tie it into what was going on in part one. That was, I mean, thanks for the effort, but ultimately, who cares about this fucking lame character? I mean, I know what they were going for, and man, I wanted it to work, but it just fell flat for me. Again, the only instance was when he finally did something.
Yeah, there was some parts where I was like, man, I mean, it seemed like he was having fun with it, but at the same time, it was like someone should have told him to chill out a little bit, because it was kind of like he was going the extreme route to make it funny, but no one told him to rein it in a little. So I could see your point. That being said, I ended up kind of liking it after a while, but at first I was like, oh man, this is not good. But after a while, I did end up liking it.
I found it grating through and through. But again, I was more hoping that I liked it. Now let's talk about some new characters.
I feel like they should have cut down on that a lot.
Drastically,
for sure.
Yes. Let's talk about some new characters. We have Jeff Bridges, Channing Tatum. Who else played the other statesman? I forgot.
I forgot his name.
And then, that's about it, right? Of course, Julianne Moore, we already kind of talked about that. But the statesman is basically what we're getting at here. The statesmen are introduced after the Kingsmen, are done away with. The statesmen come into play. And I felt we should have gotten more Channing Tatum so that, it would be kind of like... Because what we got of him was like, I want to see more of this guy. Yeah. But then there was, again, that big fucking solid wasteland of nothing.
I wouldn't say it was... Like, I didn't mind that long bit that you're talking about. But it didn't feel wrong to me. It just felt like it was... like you could have used this to expand on the Statesman instead of just going
Yeah.
back to this. It felt kind of weird.
Yeah, there was literally nothing done to expound upon what they. I mean, we get that they're similar to the Kingsman, but obviously they're different
Yeah.
in some ways. They did nothing of that, which is
Like-
one of the big powerful points of the first movie is that you were kind of like, wow, this is cool because it's kind of like a Bond movie. I mean, that's well, we'll get to that, but in the sense of a Bond movie, it explores also the world that he's in,
Yeah.
and they didn't do any of that, and they had an entire world to explore.
Yeah, that was I think the biggest missed opportunity is
Yeah.
that instead of like they introduced the Statesman, but then they go back to these storylines, which I didn't find bad. I could see why you would, or someone would, but they weren't as interesting as they could have been if they had put more of the Statesman in there.
Yeah,
And Jeff Bridges only appears like twice.
again, a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
You have the dude and fucking what's your face? Badass.
Oh yeah, it's true.
But anyway, yeah, wasted opportunity with the space statesman through and through. I think we didn't get enough of them. The one cool one. I mean, really, by the end, I was like, all right, well, he's back, but I didn't really get to enjoy him all that much, you know, because he was fucking out for the whole fucking movie. But again, they leave you with that stinger at the end, and really the stinger where he comes back and you're like, oh, now he's gonna work with the Kingsman. You're kind of like, I kind of felt like robbed. Like, was this movie just a fucking bridge to a third one, or what the hell? It's kind of like what I felt at the end. Instead of being excited for him being there, it was like I didn't even get any of him here. You know, it felt kind of cheap to me. You know, like, oh, why are they not putting any of this? But again, I was disappointed in that. But I you know, whatever.
I think the character wasn't that big for me to be disappointed. I think it was just like odd.
Well, this is okay. Let me counterbalance that with this. This is why I thought that was a point, because the character we did get some background on, which was Agent Whisky, right? I don't know if it was the actor or the character. It just didn't.
Really, I really liked him. I thought he was really cool.
I thought he was a dud. His action scenes were nice, but you know, overall, I thought he was just like flat.
His motivation was kind of lame.
Yeah.
But I thought he was played well, and I thought he was cool. I thought maybe he needed a little more, but I liked him a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And his action scenes were really cool.
Yeah, his action scenes were good. Yeah, it didn't hit stride for me. Let me touch one more thing on the character list. I don't know if you'll agree with this, with me on this. As far as Merlin goes, he croaks too. And he actually I think he's the only one that gets a good death in this, in respect to it has impact. The problem is for me, again, that it was in the middle of a movie that, again, felt underwhelming and like it made zero impact, despite the fucking Kingsman getting wiped out. It felt like almost his death was wasted because it was in the middle of this blah movie, for me again. But his death was really good. It was kind of sad, and kind of like you felt his pride for what he was and all that stuff. So it was kind of like a bittersweet moment. Like, man, that's sad that he died in this way. It's good that he, you know, died the way he wanted to die. But at the same time, it's in the middle of this movie that's kind of like flatlining for me. P.S. Flatliner sucks. But anyway.
I would disagree, because at that point, that's when I was actually getting interested again. Because there is a point. I will say this. There is a
interesting
point.
You should say that, because that's the ass end of the movie. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I mean.
Here's the thing. I didn't dislike any of it. I just thought some of it was pointless.
Yeah.
I was never like, this sucks or anything like that. I was just like, I could do without this.
Yeah,
that being said, I never hated anything. I was just like,
yeah.
I could do without this part. Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird feeling. I didn't hate it. I never was like bored or anything. I was just like, I could do without some of this.
It's a 2-hour and 20-minute long movie that I think could have done without like an hour of fucking footage. I mean, there's just stuff in there, like you say, there's stuff in there that's not needed. You're like, why are we even getting this? And some of the stuff that was needed was just like flat for me. But anyway, from characters we go to action. Let's get rid of effects first. Effects, again,
they're pretty on par with the first one.
Pretty much on par with the first one. They have that cartoony quality. Yeah. You know,
nothing's like really convincing at all.
Yeah, but that's part of the why you would want to go see this. It's part of why part one was good. And as far as the effects working in the action scenes where they're mostly used here, they work just the same as they do in the first one, with some exceptions. I think. I don't know if you'll agree with this or not. I hated the fucking robot shit. I'm okay with the arm. Those fucking dogs had to go, man. They were terrible. I hate that villain was so shitty that, and those dogs by extension to me were, I mean, they were just, they were. That was when I was like, this is a movie where I can suspend my disbelief all the way. But then these dogs come in, and I was like, oh, this is too much. Which is weird again because these movies, like the first one I should say, is like your belief is definitely on the shelf. You're just like going for it. It's just gung ho. This is wacky. This is crazy. And I think it had to do with that lull, that massive lull, because you have too much time to think about how stupid all this shit is.
I was about to say I didn't think the dogs were bad, but they were
beyond cheesy. Is what the problem was to me.
That's like, fine because it fits with the movie, but they were in the middle of scenes that were not very exciting, so they kind of stood out more.
Yeah, they really stood out. And,
that being said, I didn't mind them that much. I was expecting retarded shit.
I give those dogs 50 thumbs down. I hated them, man. I hated them more than I did Elton John. And when they were in the same scene, that was kind of annoying. But anyway, effects again, pretty much on par. So if you like the effects, you'll probably like. For the first one, you'll probably like the effects here. Let's talk about the last big thing, which is action. We're gonna kind of couple up with humor, because humor is a big part of part one.
I want to say the humor was not as good.
Yeah,
there is a lot of less clever lines.
Way less. It's like super dumb.
Yeah,
like the first one. The first one was so good because it was lampooning a genre, and specifically James Bond movies, really. And it did it so well, down to the verbal sparring that not only was funny and cool and chuckle-worthy, but it made you feel cool. It made you feel as cool as the characters were feeling cool. And stuff meant something when they were saying it. This was just like...
Yeah, it was pretty lacking.
It was... So, yeah, the dialogue, terrible to deliver humor, I think. You found it lacking. I found... Man, I don't think I laughed. I don't think I... Well, again, it's not like you laugh and slap your knees laughter. You know, it's...
Yeah, there's a lot of like little chuckle moments in the first one. I think I chuckled like twice, maybe.
I didn't chuckle
once. And it was like at super small stuff. I was like,
yeah,
oh, that's kind of funny.
I think maybe the closest I got to a chuckle was the dog stuff, because dogs are cute, and but not because of the movie. It was just like, oh, look, it's a cute dog. I was just like, man, this humor sucks. I found it. It was terrible, especially the Elton John shit. God damn it, that Elton John shit.
I kind of liked it as a sad, but like, okay, I was aware it sucked, and I was like, he's gonna hate this. He's gonna freaking hate this Elton John shit, and I kind of hated it at first, but it was there so long that I kind of ended up liking it. Yeah, but it was bad. I'll agree with you. It was bad, but it was one of those that you'll either like it, you'll find it amusing, or you'll freaking hate it, or you'll hate it at first and end up liking it.
I think if I had ended up liking it, it would be because that's like the only thing that I could grasp onto. And I was trying to grasp. I was wanting so bad to like this movie. That like as it like neared its end, I was like, "Come on, man, give me something. 10 minutes of something that I like." And that's let me just detract for a bit. That's also something that I felt was horribly wrong with the movie. We talk about that kind of slump in the middle. Whenever there would be like a start, like once Galahad got his memory back, you felt kind of like, all right, this is rearing up again, and then it just dipped again, and then okay, here we go again, and short ass and back, and then just finally towards the ass end, that's when it's. And I'm not saying I want action 24/7. I'm saying like there was no clever anything, there was no clever dialogue, there was no clever lampooning of a genre. There was like nothing was going on in the middle, even though there was stuff. So it just felt like this roller coaster that didn't ever pick up speed, and so I kept on clawing for something, man, and that's kind of like Elton John was kind of like that. Let's just throw him in for some reason and then pull him away and then throw him back in. It's kind of like how the movie as an entire thing felt for me. But anyway, I keep harping on Elton John. Sorry. But yeah, so just to summarize, the humor for you found it lacking, subpar to the original.
Yeah.
I found it dead flat. I thought it sucked. But let's talk the action, which is, kind of goes hand in hand with the humor sometimes in the first one. but let's just talk the action in general here. What did you think? I thought it was a good start, but I thought it was, again, maybe it was the action at the beginning was like, and they're finding a way to stuff all the gadgets in one scene. And in a Bond movie, that would mean we're just getting new gadgets. But by the time this guy gets new gadgets, we're already like 2 hours into this movie, and the gadgets he get aren't really interesting, you know. So it was like, why do we have every single gadget stuffed into the beginning of the movie at that intro sequence with the car chase? The scene was nice. I mean, it made me think, okay, well, the action's gonna look the same, and when the action finally did pick up, where it was a steady pace of it, it did feel that way, especially towards the end where the two Galahads team up together, and kind of, but even that was so brief that it was like, well, that's over. So while the action was nice, it definitely was not as stylized and cool or gory or interesting as the first one. Some scenes were nice, some scenes were very nice, but there was just not enough of it for what this movie was and what it was supposed to be. It was just, here's some at the beginning, here's like a few scenes that are super short, and then at the end.
It felt weirdly paced, the action. They were good. They were really good, I thought, especially the last sequence. And the beginning scene was cool, but like it was kind of like a Wonder Woman type situation where there's so much like in between that you're like, well, there wasn't really much action. You don't really feel excited when it does happen. For me, at least, that's how it was with Wonder Woman. It kind of felt the same here, where it's like, okay, that was a really cool scene, and then there's like a long period of nothing cool, really.
I would agree.
And then you get a small little action scene that's cool, but it's like, oh well, I mean,
it wasn't enough. Yeah,
like they were really cool though. They looked really nice.
They looked nice, yeah.
But yeah, they were kind of.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good comparison. The difference is that, for me anyway, the difference is that Wonder Woman had interesting story in between action scenes. So, and then again, to just reiterate, this story fell absolutely flat for me, and I was really kind of sad at the end. I was like, man, nothing. I latched onto nothing in this. There was nothing that was cool about it. It was nice to see these characters again, but I mean, now I'm kind of afraid that the box office will drop off to nothing, because I can't really imagine people legitimately going, let's go watch this again. You know, I just can't. It was, I hate to say it, but for what this movie was supposed to be, it just felt boring. And again, I'm not saying I was bored, but again, if I was going to this movie with that intention in mind, and I was some guy that couldn't sit through an 8-hour movie about garbage, which I have in the past, then this movie would be boring to me. And it just ventured on, it was just super disappointing to me, ultimately. So my final rating would be, I give it like a fucking 3 out of 10, and that's kind of being nice.
Go that low. Yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't hate it. Is the thing. I actually did like a lot of it, and that's something that I was actually thinking towards the end. I was like, there's a lot of stuff I like. There's also a lot of stuff I don't like. Or there's a lot of stuff I'm not crazy about or care much about. I like the characters, obviously, because they're, you know, likable characters from the first movie. Yeah. There's no like really standout cool action scene like in the first movie with the church scene. There's nothing like that. We rewatched the first movie before we saw this one,
which only magnified for me how terrible this one was.
Yeah, and you know, during the church scene, during several scenes, you get that little spine tingle. That never happened.
Yeah.
There was a lot of cool stuff I liked. I would have liked this to be a shorter movie with maybe better editing. Maybe put in the Trump shit, which might have actually helped it, honestly.
Different villain would have been
because,
nice.
Yeah, the villain wasn't good, and I think neutering the president villain was a freaking problem because it ended up just being like, who cares about this plot? So if they had like a clearer villain, I think it would have helped. I think they were going for she's not the real villain, but it just fell flat.
Yeah.
I thought the actors were fine. I actually really did like Whisky, but yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't a great movie. I might give it a second chance. Maybe this is just because we saw the first one and it was so good compared to it. But yeah, it was a little disappointing. It was pretty disappointing.
So give it a number grade, 1 through 10.
I enjoyed it. Didn't love it. I would go like middle ground 5.
5. All right, there you have it, folks. A guy who kind of liked it And
It's the thing. Like, I really like some stuff. I just wish it was in a better movie.
yeah, I'm the same way. I like some stuff. I mean, obviously I love the characters, um, who they are.
Yeah, I just wish it
But
was in a
here-
better constructed movie.
Yeah, here they were just portrayed. What they were given to do was, who cares? The villain was terrible. The villain's plot was terrible, and the action was okay every 10,000 years, and there was just too much going on that didn't matter. That's a good way to summarize this movie. Too much going on that didn't fucking matter at all. I don't give a shit about your girlfriend. Sad that the dog died, but we keep bringing this up. You know, there's just a bunch of stuff that, you know, didn't matter. But, you know, there you have it, folks. I hated it. Didn't want to hate it. I still hope there's a part 3 that will rectify this. And here's somebody that liked it fairly well, but it's more of a middling grade.
Yeah, this is like a, like, if I'm ever gonna buy this movie, it's gonna be like a bargain bin, or like it's $1.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a shame because I really like these characters. If I ever buy it, it's gonna be because I love the characters so much. Because the movie's kind of not great. If I'm gonna be honest.
So tell us what you think. Are we right or are we wrong? Did you like it? Did you hate it? If so, why? Let us know. Like, share, subscribe. This has been Ahab and the Goon Tick, and we're signing out.